So we have, this is exercise 16, looking at inventory costing methods again. So they give us a bunch of information, and then they say compute the ending inventory and cost of goods sold using the methods, round to the nearest. Okay, so let's start with FIFO first. First in, first out. So I'm going to set it up on here just so that we can see how it all works. We had 11.1 beginning inventory, beginning balance inventory. We had units and unit cost and total cost. So the beginning inventory, they had 32 units at $55 per unit with a total cost of $1,760. Then on 11.7, they made a purchase. So we know purchases are fine. Whatever they purchased at is what we record. 45 units at $60. So that came out to $2,700. Then they had a sale of 50, and we don't know yet what the unit cost is going to be or what the total cost is. We'll get to that. Then on 11.14, they had another purchase for 52 at $65 with a total cost of $3,380. Then on 11.30, they had a sale for 61. And again, we don't know what that unit cost is or the total cost. So for first in, first out. First of all, when we're looking at this problem, what are the missing pieces now? The unit cost and total cost for both sales. So for the first one, first in, first out, they sold 50 units. Let's see, Janice, we left off with you. What will we do to get the unit cost for the 50 units sold? So to figure out the unit cost for the 50 units sold here.
You would have to add up 32 and 45 and then subtract 55 to see like how much that was going to be.
Right. So here's an even easier way to do it. Since it's first in, first out, we know this is our first layer, right? This 11.1 is our first layer. So of this 50, we're going to eat into this first layer first. So how much of the first layer are we going to use? All of it. So this whole layer goes away. And we're going to take 32 times the 55 to figure out part of this unit cost, right, for the sale on 11.9. And then what? There's still more inventory that we have to figure out, so we go into the next layer. Yep. 50 minus 32, so how much is left? 18. So of this 45, we're going to take 18 out. So 18 is the price at $60 per unit. And then how much is left in layer 2? The 45 minus the 18. So only 18 got eaten from this layer, so we still have 27 left. You with me, Casey? Yep. Both Caseys? Yep. Okay. So now, when we go to figure out the total cost, what will the total cost be for that sale?
32 times 55 just be the 1,760, and then 18 times 60 is 1,080. So you just add those two together.
Say that again.
32 times 55 is just the 1,760 because they already totaled that. For you.
1,760.
Yep, and then 18 times 60 is 1,080.
1,080.
It's
Okay. So then what do you get?
2,840.
2,840. Everybody get that? Did it work in Cengage?
For the ending inventory or for the cost of goods sold?
Oh, because they're only asking for the totals, right? They're not having you break it out by layers. Okay, so you have to do it broken out by layers. So we've got that one. This one piece is going to be part of your cost of goods sold number from the sale. Okay? Now we move on to the next sale on 11/30. And Casey, what are we going to do for that one?
It doesn't say it's right.
What?
It doesn't say it's
You want to know why?
Oh, it's not done yet?
No.
We can't use that for the cost of, oh, just.
Cost of goods sold is gonna be both,
Yeah.
because there's another
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why I'm like, oops.
Okay, so for the next sale, how are we going to do that one?
We have 27.
Yep, so we're going to take the 27 from the first remaining layer. So good job, 27. Yep. What is it, 1620? Okay. And then what?
34 at the $65.
So we're going to take out how much more? 34 units. 34 units come out of this layer on 11/14. So it's 11/4's purchase is the next layer, because now, remember, this whole layer is gone. Now we have 34 units at $65. And how much is left of this layer now? 18. Everybody agree with that? So 34 times 65 is what?
2210.
2210. Okay. And then what does that come out to?
3830.
Okay. So everybody with me so far? Everybody's feeling it? Okay. So these two numbers, this one and this one, are the new cost of goods sold numbers, because those are what you sold. You've calculated the cost. So those should be your cost of goods sold number. What does that come out to? 6,670. And then who thinks they know what the inventory number is going to be? Janice, what do you think? I always want to say Janice. I don't know why. Tariq, what for the ending inventory sitting on your balance sheet? Which layer still has any inventory left in it?
Oh, the 61, I mean the 52.
Yep.
The 18.
Exactly. So you only have 18 left in inventory. So your ending inventory is the 18 units at what price?
65.
Yep, at the 65.
But in Cengage, when you put in the inventory, it doesn't come out.
No,
Or do you have to
Yeah,
times
times
by
it.
60? Yeah, it's
times by
1175.
65. What is it, 1170?
Yeah.
1170. So the two pieces, I mean, it's figuring out your cost of goods sold number. And remember what this entry is going to be. It would be your debit cost of goods sold credit inventory, because this is what you've sold. I know it's not asking you for this, but from the problem we did right before, that's the entry. And then how much is sitting on your balance sheet, that 11,000 or 1,170. That make sense? What do you think?
I think it's just, you have to make sure you keep everything.
You have to keep
organized.
track of what line you're talking about. That's the most important thing.
Other than that, it's okay.
Allison?
Oh, no, I understand.
Okay.
I'm just still figuring out the inventory, why I had a different number than they did, so.
Does it work in Cengage though?
I haven't checked it, but. 1170 does, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
1170 does.
Okay, good.
Just mine was off, so I'm trying to figure out why mine was off.
All right. So now let's look at it using, do you want to do, I don't want to run out of time. How's everybody feeling with LIFO? That you'd be able to do the reverse?
You would need to do the moving average.
Moving average? You want to do a moving average one? Okay, let's look at moving average. Okay, so let's look at moving average with this same thing. So why don't you start working on it? I'm going to set up the thing again. This is why I thought about doing it in Excel, but
What killed me is I did it first without reading the directions saying round average unit cost percent and cost of goods sold and inventory.
that
values
rounding
to the
is
nearest
just
dollar.
such an annoying,
So I
yeah,
don't know if the roundings are right in it and I
Oh.
did not get those.
okay. Unit cost, total cost. Then we had. We had the sale. Okay, so for the weighted average or moving average, we've got all the same facts. Cassandra, let's start with you. So to figure out how we're going to calculate the unit cost and the total cost for the sale on 11/9, how are we going to do it?
Well, we have to add the two units together.
Okay, so the first step is to add the layers together. So you have to add the total units. So what does that come out to?
77.
77 units in total. And then what?
We have to add the cash.
You have to add the total cost. I see so many students get confused about trying to add the unit cost to the units. It just gets so messy. It's the units, total units, divided by total cost. So then what does that come out to? 44.60. So now when you divide the 77 units by the 4,460 total, what do you get for the total unit cost?
$57.92.
57.92. Everybody see where that comes from? So practice doing the math with the division. But for weighted average, you're taking the total units divided by the total cost. So if the total cost is not given, in this case it is, you have to go through and multiply 32 units times 55 to get the 1,760, the 45 units times the $60 to get to the 2,700.
So, in the next step, do we
So now,
basically take the amount of units as they're all gonna be worth 57?
all of them.
So we just times 57.92 by 50?
Exactly. So now you don't have, this is not layers, right? So FIFO and LIFO, you're worried about the layers. For weighted average, we're just trying to figure out the average of the total. But I've also seen students just say 55 plus 60 divided by 2 gets you an average. You have to weigh it amongst how many units you actually own at what price. So then, like Janice just said, you have to multiply the whole 50 times that one price. And what does that come out to?
896.
2,896? So right now, if I asked you what your cost of goods sold is, what would your cost of goods sold be?
2,890.
$2,896. That's your cost of goods sold number. And Allison, if I asked you, what is your ending inventory? Let's say we don't have any more purchases and sales. What would your ending inventory be? Yep, 27. So we sold the 50. We had 77, so 27 are left. And at what price? Your ending inventory, this is important to note. Your ending inventory is all valued at the new weighted average. So that remaining 27 is all valued at the 57.92. Okay? Now, Bernadette, for the next one, how are we going to figure out this sale?
Where are we?
So we're on the sale for 1130.
Okay, so there's 61 units.
61 units sold.
Yeah.
Yep. And now we have to figure out the weighted average because there was another purchase. If there wasn't another purchase, which there would have had to be because they sold 61 and they originally only had 27 left. But let's say there wasn't another layer, we would be able to use the 57.92 again. But there's a new layer. So now this layer now has 27 left. So even though I said it's not layered inventory, you still do have to keep track of your layers. So you had 27 remaining after that sale at what price? The 57.92. And then what does that come out to in total?
1,560.
Sorry, what is it? I'm going to squish it in here, sorry. What,
1,563.8.
Sorry.
84.
1,000?
563.84.
63? All right, so we'll round up to 64. 1,564?
Are we okay, back up, because it
Yep.
says, round average unit cost to the nearest cent.
Yeah.
And cost, okay, so we do leave it at the 57.92, right?
Yeah. What did it say? Round it to the nearest cent?
Yeah.
Round average unit cost, okay, nearest cent.
And then the other one to the
Yeah.
auditory to the nearest.
Okay.
So then, you see, everybody sees where this 27 and 57.92 came from? Casey?
The 27 came from
This?
above.
Yep.
Okay.
So they had 77. They sold 50.
Okay.
So 27's left. And this 27 is going to be valued at that original weighted average that we calculated at 57.92.
Since you weighted, since you rounded the 1,564, does that affect the
It said to round to the dollar, right, for that one? So we're all right with the rounding. Now we have to do a weighted average again. So how are we going to do that, this next weighted average?
The last one.
Casey, what do you think for this one? For the weighted average? So, remember, first we have to figure out our total units. So how many units are left? We originally, remember, had this 77. We sold 50. So 27 are left. You're with me on that number? Then we purchased another 52.
So we have 27
So don't even worry about at yet. What's just the total units in total?
27 plus
Yep. So we have 79 units. And then we've already done this little extrapolation of the price. We did 27, like you said, at the 57.92. That was the first weighted average. So we come up with 1,564, right? And then the next one is the 52 units that we purchased at $65 per unit. That comes out to 33,380. Exactly. We add those up. What does that come out to? $4,944. Okay. And then all you have to do is do the division. Divide the 79 units by the 4,944.
So we're putting those, we're rounding those up to the nearest dollar?
This one gets rounded to the nearest cent, right? It said unit price gets rounded to the nearest cent.
Okay, because for the 27
Mhm.
at 57.92,
Right?
I got 1,563.84.
Okay, so that gets rounded to the dollar. So that's the 1,564.
So one-
Yep.
1,564.
It's 79 divided by the 4,000.
When you enter it into your calculator, you should do 4,000 and then, yeah. No. I make that mistake too sometimes. It's like, which one? And use your judgment. It's an average, so it's got to be between $65 and $57.92, and if it's not, something's wrong. So what did you get? 62.58. So that's your new weighted average. How are you going to use it?
You're gonna times that by 61.
Good. So now this is the whole point. What is our sale? 61.
And you get 3,817.
Okay. So everybody see this is 61 units that were sold at the new weighted average. So the 61 sale times the 62.58. And what did you get?
3,817.
3,817. Okay. Good job. So this number is the cost of goods sold from the 11/30 sale.
And the 2,896.
Yep. And the 2,896 is the cost of goods sold from the 11/9 sale. So when it's asking for total cost of goods sold, you have to add both of those together.
6,713.
6,713. Everybody agree with that? And then if I asked you what is the ending inventory,
That's 18 times 62.
so you still, like in the LIFO problem we saw, still only have 18 units left, right? So it's the 79 minus the 61 gets you your 18 units. But now we're just going to use the new weighted average price. So it's the 18 units times 62.58.
So you get 1,126.
26. So remember, the ending inventory is what shows up on your balance sheet. That's how much inventory is left. And then this cost of goods sold is how much inventory you've actually sold.
Syncage doesn't like that cost of goods sold.
It works if you don't have the cents.
No cents?
Cost of goods sold.
6,113, 6,713.